All right, well, one of the other vehicles has made it into the garage. This is my little Frontier. It's a 2000 model, and this has been probably the most reliable vehicle I've had in a long time compared to the BMWs and some of the others. So it's finally come in here though, because it's got a misfire, and it's doing it once it warms up. So I'm thinking maybe the coil's gone bad. So I haven't had to work on this one, so I haven't really had to clean the engine bay. So usually when I work on them, after I get fixed whatever's broken, then I'll clean the engine bay back up. So maybe I'll make a video about cleaning the engine bay too, just if anybody wants to see how to clean up an engine bay. But what we got to focus on today is this little distributor right here. It's an old distributor system, but it has the coil actually inside of the distributor. And so over here we got a replacement whole distributor set, but before I do that, I got it off the internet. Before I do that, I'm gonna see if just maybe it's the coil, because the little coils are pretty cheap. You can get these for 20 or 30 bucks. So let's get him unpacked. So there's the little coil, and it's kind of like a lot of cars. I mean, it's the coil. It's just, the difference is it's down inside of the distributor. A lot of times the coils are over here or somewhere, and it feeds to the distributor. This one's actually inside of it. So we got to take the distributor top off, and then probably take the little rotor or whatever's in there out, and we can replace this coil and see if we can get rid of this misfire. So I'll set up and we'll see what it takes to put a coil in here. Can't find these locally at the auto parts places, but you can get them off the web if you have time, instead of having to pay the high price for the whole distributor. And even the distributor here, I got it off the web, and it wasn't very expensive. I think it was like 65 bucks, and it says it's got a lifetime warranty, so maybe that's good. But we'll start with the coil, because the coil's got a lifetime warranty as well, and we'll see if we can't get this thing fixed up. All right, so we're set up and ready to go. So the first thing we want to do is not confuse all these wires. I mean, these are the factories, so they have twos. They have numbers on them, 4s and 2s. You can see them down, but if you don't have the factory wiring, there's actually little numbers on the distributor itself. So let's just pull one off. So right here, if you can see right there on the inside, when you pull it up, you'll see a little number, and it says number 2. So for me, this is a number 2 wire because it's a factory wire. I mean, like I say, I've never really done anything to this little truck. I think I've just changed the oil and done some regular maintenance. So just for simplicity, and what I normally do anyway, is so I use these little letters. You can buy these at like places that do wiring. And so these are really handy because you can just rip them off. And what I'll do is just tag all of these. That way I don't have an issue with confusing them. So okay, so after you get the wires loose, then we want to get this connector off. So it's got a lock up under the front of it right there. And so you have to get the little lock to pull up, and then just get something, pry against it, and you can pop that little connector off. So we'll get him out of the way. All right, and then next we can take the distributor off. Now we don't know the orientation of our motor because I just pulled it in the garage here, but we'll see here in just a minute where it is. And all we got to do is put it back the same place it was. And then off comes the distributor. So we can look and see it's just a kind of a normal distributor. Everything looks good on it. So we'll set that aside, because what we want to do is work our way down to underneath here, because the coil is sitting underneath all of this. And so we can, let me just move this out of my video, out of the way of my video, so you can see a little better. I'm just going to unhook this, get it out of my video's way. Okay, so it looks like the screw's got to come all the way out. Let's just reach in there and take it all the way out. lose that. So there's our screw. There comes the button. So it looks like the cover's held on with little brackets. I'll take these two loose. That allows us to pick the cover up. So we're going to drop this one down in there, take his place, see if we can't fix this issue. So to get the coil out, it looks like the pickup plate is up above it, this little plate. So there you got to be real careful with this little pickup plate. But in order to get the pickup plate off, looks like we're going to have to take the pickup sensor off. So here's the wiring that goes to the coil. So we'll go ahead and disconnect that screwdriver and put it up under. See if we can raise that up, because we don't want to damage this little encoder. So we've got to be real careful around it. We'll get a pair of pliers. We'll just grab the connector to the coil. Just pull up on it. There we go. So now we got the wire out of the way. Same for this one. Try to avoid hitting that little pickup. Okay. So not so many tools so far. So now all we need to do is get this out and the little encoder out. So we can see my flat is pointed right towards the coil. So just in case there's some difference there, I can remember that. So let me see if I can break this free. May need to switch to a bigger Phillips head. It doesn't want to go. Alright, so we got to get this little center part out, and it's not wanting to budge. So we're going to try an impact driver. Just give it a little tap. See if that'll come free. There we go. So just using an impact. Now we can take that center part out. We'll probably put some blue Loctite in there. Now see, this whole thing will lift up. And that'll expose that little pickup wheel. Raise this up a little bit before we take that out. Let's break this loose. Now, when it's loose, we can tip that up a little bit. So it's loose, so now you can push up on it a little bit, and then it gives you room to take that little plate out. So, gotta be careful with that. And up on the top it says QV, so we know that that's the upward position. So now we're to the point that we can get to the coil. The only thing left is this little bottom piece that sits down below, and it's not keyed, it just rotates. And that should be about all it takes to get this coil off. There's just a couple screws. So we want to make sure our seal's good, so if we don't have to pull that off, maybe we can just push these wires out of the way a little bit. Alright, so now we can take the coil off. And if you can do the coil, if it's not an issue with the distributor, this is a lot easier because you don't have to deal with timing or anything. And there we go. There's our poor little coil. So hopefully that's the issue. Hard to tell with a coil. Sometimes they just go out. They just have enough and just don't want to work anymore, so they go out. But down inside of here is some rust, and so we're going to clean that up before we put the new coil in. So here's our new coil. He's going to go back in the hole just like he came out. Just sit him right down in there. And he gets the screws to hold him in place. So now we got the coil back in and the wires on. So if we do that, we put our little thing that holds the encoder plate to the right height. And we carefully set our encoder plate back in, being sure not to bend it. There we go. Now we can tighten this back down because we just see it's keyed on the bottom as well, so there's no way you can get its orientation wrong. It just sits on top of the encoder. This screw doesn't have any Loctite on it, but it was awfully tight, so what I'm going to do is just put a little dab of blue Loctite on it. Put a little dab of blue Loctite. Drop him back down in there. And we just tighten him back up. I won't have to worry about it coming loose for some reason. And next is the little plate, because we got all that put on. And we just have to put our little plate cover back on. The piece we got left is the button. And then the button goes back on in the same direction it came off. Same orientation. And we just got to put the screw back in there. There we go. So all we got left to do is put our distributor cap on, and down inside the coil there's a little spring that's going to push up against the contact right there on the distributor. And so when you put it on, it's going to be a little springy, like it doesn't want to sit down, see? But you just have to find its position and kind of push down on it, and it should stay there. Alright, well, we finished up our coil change on our little Frontier, and he's kind of like the little work truck. He just gets driven whenever we need to do something, so he's not one that we drive all the time, but he's awful dirty. He hadn't had any problems hardly at all. This is the first problem I've had in years on this little truck, changing its coil out. But even though it's a little Nissan Frontier and it's nothing like the BMWs or some of the other ones that are on my channel, it still deserves to be clean. So since I had to pop the hood and do a little work on it, I figured we might as well clean it up. So I figured I would make a time lapse of cleaning up the motor, and so you can kind of see the difference between the dirty little current motor that's been like this for a while, and I've kind of neglected it, so it's a shame on me. But we'll clean it up today since we had to do a little work on it, and see if we can make it pretty again. Alright, so just a few minutes using the engine foamy stuff, and all of that nasty that was there before is for the most part cleaned up. It's not a perfect job, but it looks a whole lot better than it did. Much more presentable when you open up the hood to do work on it. So there we go. Doesn't take very long, and about $5 worth of foamy engine stuff, and away you go. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching.